Hi, I'm Tim Taylor, and I wanted to share with you about what just occurred in Virginia. I just returned from speaking at Now Is Your Time to Launch, which was the leadership summit hosted by the Kingdom Congressional International Alliance. And we were honored to have leaders from all over the U.S. and around the world join us. But in addition to that, we also had the lieutenant governor and part of the governor's staff show up, as well as the mayor. And it was in that context that we heard the word of the Lord. Now, the speakers, we really didn't coordinate our messages very much. There were general topics. We're all praying and obeying, being led by the Lord. But I got to tell you, I so felt like this was a divine setup. And so it was easy for me because God began speaking to us as early as 1995, where God began to use this analogy of a space shuttle to communicate what he was doing. And I may want to share with you this article that I wrote almost 10 years ago next month. And the title of the article is The Prophetic Word Launching the Apostleship. And what I did was I was rehearsing all the prophetic words and things that God had done leading up to the launch of Kingdom League International. And so I share about the word in 95, where you're in training for a kingdom ministry, and it's like the development of the space shuttle. And then in 1996, very similar kind of word comes along, talking about the Space Shuttle Challenger. Another word in 1996 comes about a planting we're going to do responsible for the whole ship. And then it goes on to talk about in 2000, actually it was in 2008, I shared this word that God showed up, and he said to me, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be before the coming of the Son of Man. I had Noah build an ark, and I want you to build an ark. Not an ARK, but an ARC, an Apostolic Resource Center. But he says, I really don't want an ark, but I want a fleet of arks. And I knew what he was talking about with my Navy background. It's like a class of ships, like the Arleigh Burke class destroyer or a ship like that. There's a class of ships. In other words, different names, different crews, all that kind of thing. But the ship itself has many common characteristics with that class of ship. And God was launching the apostleship. And so what we've been doing all this time, God's spoken through patterns and given diagrams. 2008, 2009, he spoke very specifically about that. He gave me a pattern, a diagram I've used to illustrate the house of the Lord and to build the wall of prayer, set elders back in the gates using the councils and the fivefold and the seven spheres. And so I did that. And then in 2011, we were led by the Lord to launch Kingdom League International. And without any foreplanning on our part, our meeting started on the day that the Space Shuttle Discovery was launched on its last mission. And on the day we started the event, the Space Shuttle Discovery launched. On the time, about within 15 minutes of the time that the elders and leaders gathered around to lay hands upon Brenda and I to set us in, commissioning us to oversee, to establish and launch and oversee Kingdom League International and apostleship, set me in the apostleship. Within 15 minutes, the space shuttle docked with the International Space Station, which is, again, it's kind of a very interesting coincidence, very encouraging to us because of all these other prophetic words that talked about where God used the analogy of the space shuttle. With that in mind, so I go to Roanoke and I'm ministering there and I'm sharing what God's downloaded to us about the results we've seen through the strategy he's given us to steward. And we illustrated the pattern, the diagram, the structure, the mobilization method that we use to reseat the elders back in the gates, and the role of the church, and how that the emphasis today was on government, that the lawlessness being demonstrated by civil government set the stage for the real church to arise, to begin to establish order and reestablish the elders by seating them back in the gates, and in a sense begin to establish God's government on earth as it is in heaven. And in addition to that, we emphasize the incredibly important role of actual covenant. And so that was what was presented there. Now, it just so happens in my audience was the lieutenant governor and part of the governor's staff, which was interesting. and very much an honor. Was very honored to have that team join me in my workshop after that. There's more that I'll share later about that. But now what I want to do is I want to transition to a prophetic word that followed the message that I gave later that day on the last day of the summit. And it was delivered by Nathan French. And then right after that, the last message was delivered by Dr. Sharon Billings. And she, without any knowledge on my part, she had planned to use the launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery as an example of what it means. So what God was saying about it, it's your time to launch. And all this, I'm just going to let this play. And I'm going to share a portion of that with you so you can see, because candidly, my friends, this may not be impactful for you, but it's hugely impactful to me, because this is a encouragement, a culmination about we are on the right track. Our Father wants this done. And so I have great confidence. I want to share with you this prophetic sign. And Lord, it doesn't make me wonder, but it should make you wonder about what is God doing, because this message has been consistent for more than 27 years is the first time that word came forth. So I just really want to share this with you and invite you to join with us in praying because this is not about our ministry. It's not about our plan or our strategy being fulfilled. It's about our Father's plan being established. He wants these apostleships established around the globe. And there's a people He's called in each community to do that. And so we just want to pray. Join with us in praying that our Father's will is done and He gets what He has desired from the sacrifice of His Son, and that their real church would arise to meet the challenges of this day and to give Him glory. So I want to transition.
And so everybody carries something. Tim's up here. Tim's a general in the faith. He's just trying to figure out what does God want me to do next? And he's moving into the fulfillment of his destiny. And by the way, it's many things God's about to do for you. I was seeing it. You were up here and I felt like there was, years of preparation went into building. What I was seeing is the majority of the fuel is exerted before the rocket even moves. Yeah, that's right. But watch out, because when this thing, and pretty soon, man, momentum, which is defined the product of a body's mass, linear velocity, the speed or the force of motion. Amen. So pretty soon this thing's gonna, and it's just like, it's like Mach speed. I felt like God said the best is yet to come for sure. But you're going to see the fulfillment of the promise of God. Building the network so that it can bring in the big catch. And you don't have to do it all, and you know it. But God's bringing the alliances, the right people, the strategies been revealed, and much of the fruit that you have actually brought for God is actually not seen yet by you, but it will come in. I saw apple off the tree, like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree is an old saying. But anyway, I saw apples hitting the ground, and seed was being planted all over into the nations, and hope into people hopeless in high positions. And all of a sudden you're going to have a harvest that's uncommon. There will be a harvest that's uncommon for the kingdom, because your heart really desires to bring Him a reward for His suffering. And so just want to honor you. Are amazing. Anyway, God bless you. Love you guys.
All right, John, short.
Now is the time. It wasn't or happenstance that the lieutenant governor of Virginia was here and the mayor of the city was here. The Lord is saying this is just training ground for a higher realm, higher platforms, new spheres, new territories, new regions, new jurisdictions. For few, God will make us ruler over many. He's going to honor.
T-minus 90 seconds and counting. All systems are go. We're about 90 seconds from the launch of Space Shuttle Discovery. We're transferring to orbiter internal power at this time. Discovery is now running off board fuel cells. Coming up on a go for auto sequence start.
Check out the bottom. Look at the bottom.
And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Look at the fire.
Start, 2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space
Oh!
Wasn't that awesome? So that's just a snippet of what occurred that weekend. But for me, it was huge. Because my father has a plan that's been unfolding for a long time. There's a role that we're playing. And those of you that are in covenant with us, that are part of our family tribe or fellow workers, you're part of our team, you're a partner with us and praying with us and collaborating with us, or one of our ministers out there doing your job. You guys play a role in this and a part in this, and we are we are so grateful for each of you. But I want to tell you something. I shared at the event how I've lived long enough to see a dream and a vision and what I thought was a word, what I perceived was a word, become marked with signs and wonders, which encourages us along till we begin to see some results, to where then I shared at the event, literally history-making, world-changing results that came through leaders that I mentored and coached and trained and discipled. But then there's the new things God's saying right now. And I must say this, I have greater confidence in what my Father has spoken to me than what I have seen done. Here's the truth. When it comes to applying the strategy, the ancient blueprint that's in One Church, One Day that King David first pioneered, for me, it's like it almost doesn't take any faith to exercise to know what's going to happen, because I know what happens when God's word is applied. I have great confidence. I know what will happen. But I have even greater confidence in what I have seen but is not yet made manifest. And that has to do with the emergence of the sons of God that the whole earth has been groaning and waiting for. I so sense the anointing of God upon this, because he wants a people to arise bold and courageous in these days. This time was made for us, these challenges of this day. There is a church coming forth that's going to establish the government of God on earth as it is in heaven. I shared at the event Isaiah 9, chapter 6, verse 7. It talks about how the government will be upon his shoulder, and of the increase of his government there will be no end, upon his shoulder and upon the throne of David. That's that restoration of David's tabernacle. It's going to be through that. And so I see these apostleships, these arcs, these apostolic resource centers, these expressions of God's love and his government be established throughout the earth, not to lord over people, not to smother people, but to cover them with the love of Christ, to come alongside servant leadership like what we've not seen this day. The complete antithesis to what the devil is doing at this time. And I say this, it's time for the real church to arise. I feel honored and privileged to live in this day, and I hope you do too. And I pray I'll be sharing more in the near future, but I hope this has blessed you. I want to thank you for sharing in our journey. I want to invite you to join us in praying. And for those that are out there who have need of help in mobilizing the body of Christ, we have more than vision. We have a proven methodology that God has marked with signs and wonders that has led to measurable, repeatable, supernatural results that has proven in some cases to be world-changing and history-making. I hope you'll join us in this journey. Be blessed.